Hey, welcome back to another Patreon lesson. Today I wanted to talk about one mic drum recording. So, recording an entire kit just with one microphone. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, just because there's two, kind of styles of music that come to mind when I think about, recording a full kit with one mic. And they're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. The first is like the Motown drum sound, think like Marvin Gaye records. It's very like in the room, natural sounding, almost like lo-fi, just very like honest kind of sound. And then the other is a lot of like indie pop or indie alternative music that I've heard recently where, there's a loop or there's some kind of sampled programmed drums that are really like driving everything, but you can tell that they've layered some kind of real human, element of playing, whether it just be the cymbals or something like that under it. And those are kind of like blended up under the samples. And so those are, the two styles of music I think of, but also it's useful for people who, just want to create content for like their Instagram or YouTube and don't want to, take the time or don't have the time to set up a bunch of mics and get them all get the phase cohesive, and do that whole thing. And so maybe just putting up one mic and blending it in with the track or whatever you're posting, is just a lot more simple. So as usual, I made a little playing portion just so you could kind of hear it in context. And this time I decided to put it with a little track just because with this drum sound, I feel like it's one of those things when you hear it just by itself, it's not super flattering, but within the context of some kind of music, it makes more sense. And it, has more of that nostalgic thing. So I just made a quick little goofy track that kind of sounds like, I guess, a modernized version of like a Motown kind of thing. Maybe not really, but I just felt like I wanted to make something so you could hear it in some context. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. Okay, so you can kind of hear what's going on. But I want to go ahead now and show you, how I thought about putting the mics in the room, how I thought about tuning the drums, and setting up the cymbals and everything, and then also, the mic I used and where I placed it and all that good stuff. I thought it'd be easier just to have a video of me showing it kind of in first person than trying to just explain it here. So I'll go ahead and cut to that video. So I wanted to do a quick explanation of how I thought about getting this sound in terms of the way I set up my room, the kit, and then also the mic and the position. So firstly, I wanted to deaden up my room and try to make it sound like a vocal booth. So I just put up like a blanket on some mic stands in front of the kit and also just put up a comforter behind it just to try to deaden up everything as much as possible. And then of course I do have some panels above on the ceiling, so that kind of covers most of the bases there. In terms of the kit, I left my kick pretty much in the same tuning as I normally would, but I did swap my normal beater for this fluffy beater. I just feel like I was getting more attack than I needed. Since it's only one mic, you gotta really play the drums a certain way and have them respond, true to what you want. You can't really go in and just fix it since you don't have, individual mics for each drum. So, it's a softer attack versus my normal beater. And with the snare, it's just my Acrolite, but I did put this towel situation on here. Just it really dries everything up a lot and keeps the wires tight sounding. And then I paper toweled and taped the toms to kind of do the same thing as this. I just don't have multiple of these kind of things, so they're just super dead and tubby, and I did tape up the bottom as well. on those. And then for the cymbals, I just put up some cheap papery hi-hats, so they're kind of really quiet. And then my normal cymbals are dry enough to where when you hit them light, they won't wash out too much, but I did put some extra tape on the ride. You really want to keep cymbals quiet for this type of sound, and you're playing quiet. I mean, that's a huge part of the sound, is just being able to play and control yourself, control your dynamics as you're playing, rather than relying on, volume automation or something in the mix. So, hitting your kick and snare a little harder, as well as the toms, and playing the cymbals super light, and just kind of letting the mic do its work. So anyways, the mic for this situation is the Beyerdynamic M160, which is a hypercardioid ribbon mic, which is a little bit different than most ribbon mics or figure 8, but this one only picks up, mainly in front of it here, and kind of rejects everything on the side and the back. Like where I'm at, it would be rejecting. And so it's a similar position that I use for my knee mic position when I've got up a bunch of mics, but for that I'm usually wanting something more aggressive, and so I'll get it in here farther, lower, closer to the kick, and then towards the snare farther. But for this, I pulled it back and raised it up a little bit, just so it gets a little bit more of a full picture of the kit, but I'm still wanting, the kick and snare to kind of be at the center of everything, and then it would just kind of let the toms and the cymbals bleed into it. So that's pretty much how I thought about going about getting this sound. It's just like super dead, kind of vocal booth sound, and then just playing super lightly and cranking up the mic. And so basically those are all different degrees of, like, each one through 4 is just kind of adding more and more of a full drum sound, but it's all sourced from the one mic. So you've got everything down from just like recording the drums into one mic, letting them be natural, raw in the room kind of thing, all the way up to like taking that one, duplicating it, letting 2 different tracks serve 2 different frequency spectrums, and then also blending some samples in with, the technique of chopping everything up, creating, a map for each individual instrument, like the kick and snare. You could even do it for the toms. I just chose not to for this. And then adding that in with the duplicate tracks. So I hope that's helpful. There's a lot of different, approaches and ideas to explore. And like I said, what's cool is you could take this and apply it to, just one mic in a full kit, multi-mic spectrum. Like you could take just like your knee mic, or just your overheads, or just your room mic, and do different things like this with the same approach. And I think it'll just add more depth and more variation for how you process your drums and all that kind of thing. So I hope this was helpful for you. I know there's a lot of information. I tried to explain it the best I could. So if you have any questions, if something wasn't super clear, which I know in this lesson that could be the case, just let me know, and I'll try to get back to you and just be a little more in depth with it. But I think I kind of laid out what I wanted to. So thanks again for, being a patron. It means a lot. I really enjoy doing these. I should say that more often. It's something that I feel, privileged to do, and just kind of like spread any ideas or things that I'm enjoying with other people. So thanks again. See you next time.